You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, or middle of the night, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome back to the podcast. If you noticed or didn't notice, I expect nobody really noticed, there was no new episode last Friday, and that's because I just plainly ran out of hours. You know, there's only those 24 hours in a day, ironically, no matter how much or how little a person has to get done. And last week I just ran out of time. So I let the podcast slide. I figured it was going to be the least missed thing that I do. And if you are listening to this and you did miss it, bless your heart. I appreciate you so much. But, you know, I've been talking a lot about how I'm revamping my whole business in this, I don't want to say post-COVID because I don't think we're quite there yet, but in this COVID world, and also because I've been dealing with burnout myself. So some of those spider webs that I've created in my business are taking a bit more to straighten out or iron out. I don't know what the right term is, but it's taking a bit more than I had maybe initially expected. So I think we are well on our way to ironing all of that stuff out. How many different types of analogies can I throw into one sentence? Suffice to say, I ran out of time last week and now we're back. And today's episode is hopefully going to be on the shorter side of things. I just had a thought on my drive home this afternoon. I was thinking back to an episode that I recorded with my good friend Laura Churchill Duke way back in the beginning of this podcast, and I will link to it in the show notes if you want to go back. And I'm not sure if it is something that she said during the podcast interview or if we've just said it in our own conversations, but it was about organization because Laura is one of the owners of Your Last Resort, which is a professional organization company here in the Valley. They also do some home staging, and we've talked a lot, the two of us, maybe even on the podcast, it's been a while, I can't recall, about how organization, professional organization, or any type of organization can resemble fitness, because much like in your home, when you're trying to help somebody improve their health, improve their wellness, you're getting into all of those things that kind of hold us back. And the same can be said for when you're organizing. I do want to stop here just for a second and say, if you do hear some weird background noise in today's episode, it is because right below me in my basement, wood is being stacked or moved or something, and I have no way to get away from it. So I apologize if there's some extra clunks and bumps in the background today. But back to Laura. One of the things that she told me is we were talking about the notorious Tupperware or plastic container storage section of your kitchen. We all have one of these. We all have one. And most of the time, they are a disaster. And we were talking about that, and I was telling her how I had reorganized mine, and I was feeling pretty darn pleased with myself. And I had gotten rid of a whole lot of pieces. And she said that when you organize a space and you have to keep coming back and reorganizing it over and over, like we often have to do with our Tupperware cabinets or drawers or wherever you keep them, we haven't actually solved the problem. We have solved it temporarily, or we've removed the problem temporarily, but over time, it goes right back to the way that it was. And I've always kind of thought about that. And right now, my Tupperware cabinet is not perfect, but you know, it would take me about maybe 5 minutes to get it back in the shape that it was on that day 20 months ago. And the reason it's not perfect is because sometimes somebody named Susie is a little bit lazy when she's putting things away, and she doesn't bother to put them exactly where they're supposed to be. But it's not an overflow issue. I haven't collected so much more in the last year and a half that the space is overflowing, and I think I got down to the right amount of objects or items for that cabinet. So I would say that that area is taken care of. So I don't know why. I don't know what possessed me to think about this today when I was driving home. But for some reason, that just kind of popped in my head that if you have to keep coming back to fix something or organize something over and over, you haven't fixed it. The problem is still there. And I started to think about our health and how that rings pretty true there as well. If you find yourself year after year having to address the same problems or the same issues, you've never really solved them. You've never really figured out a way to take care of them. Now, there are some things in our lives that we're always going to be struggling with. Life is nothing much more than one problem after another. But if you're the sort of person that finds themselves always trying to lose weight, you lose some weight, and then 6 or 8 months later, you've gained it all back, and then you find yourself trying to lose weight, and you keep going from program to program or system to system, trying to figure out how to lose that weight once and for all. Maybe you're going about it the wrong way. Maybe you're opening up that Tupperware cabinet and you're taking all the pieces out and you're buying a new rack each time thinking that this is going to be the one that solves all of your problems. But you're never actually removing the excess pieces that you don't use or that no longer serve you. Maybe you're not buying new systems. Maybe you're just taking things out or taking the front layer of stuff out because you don't really want to get deep, dirty into those pieces that have been sitting there for years. You don't know what to do with them. You don't want to deal with them. Maybe you were given them from a family member. Maybe you have some sort of attachment to it. Maybe it just feels too overwhelming. So you're only dealing with that very front layer or top layer, depending on if it's a drawer or cabinet, whatever. But you're never really getting in there, taking everything out, looking at each piece, determining, is this still useful? Is this serving me well? Do I have another piece that does this job better? And getting rid of the stuff that no longer works. I know we've taken a Tupperware analogy here, but stay with me because really, truly, the same thing is true. If you keep trying to solve the same problems and you keep coming back to them over and over, you haven't solved them. We need to get in there and get to the nitty gritty, the gross stuff that you don't want to deal with. That's where the real change happens. It doesn't happen when you cut out carbs or when you go low fat or when you start running every single day 5 miles. All of those things may temporarily make a difference. But over the long run, you're going to find yourself right back where you are because you didn't deal with the underlying issues. And you know what? For a lot of us, the underlying issue is not related directly to our food consumption. It's not because we're eating way too much. A lot of people are probably eating too less because they have fallen into the food is bad mentality when food is almost everything. I'm not going to say it is everything because, sleep is, and water and movement, those are all pretty important things too. But food is the solution, not the problem. However, for many, many people, especially women in 2020, especially women in 2020 who work, especially women in 2020 who have children, they're dealing with burnout. We're dealing with burnout. We're dealing with unbalanced hormones, whether those hormones are female hormones, whether they're stress hormones, a combination of both. Really, if you have your stress hormones out of whack, your female hormones are going to be out of whack too. It's just the way that it works. So it doesn't even matter how many different systems you try as far as food goes. Until you address that underlying issue, you're not going to see long-term success. Sure, you may find that you lose some weight when you go on an extreme diet, or you may keep that weight off for a period of time, but as soon as you sort of relax things a little bit, you put the weight back on, and then you try to lose it again. And the same thing happens if you put it back on. And maybe you're trying different things every time, but you keep putting the weight back on, and you're like, what the heck is wrong with me? I'll tell you what's wrong with you. You're not addressing the underlying problem. And because you're not addressing that underlying problem, you haven't solved the problem. You're going to have to keep coming back and reorganizing that Tupperware drawer over and over. So what if we changed our idea about health and we detached our weight from it? If we stopped worrying about gaining or losing weight, because there are a lot of people who struggle to gain weight, And there's a lot of people who struggle to lose weight. What if we took that out of the equation? What if that stopped being our basis of success? And instead, we started to focus on our health. We started to do things that made us feel better in our body as it is right now. We started to do things that helped us feel stronger, feel happier, feel healthier, feel more balanced, less stressed. What if we focused on our whole person instead of our weight? Right now, there's a lot of us who are finding ourselves weighing more than maybe we ever have. The last 6 months has not been easy. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what you've been dealing with, living through a pandemic is not easy. And most everyone is feeling elevated levels of stress. That stress takes a toll. And a lot of times, especially for women, that stress is shown in our weight. That doesn't mean that we're not eating healthy foods. That doesn't mean that we're not moving our bodies. That doesn't mean that we're generally trying to take care of ourselves. So why should we punish ourselves for having our body protect us? It sees, it can feel, it knows that we're in a stressful time. So it is trying to take care of us. It's trying to protect us by holding on to weight. It doesn't know that we're not going into an ice age. It doesn't know that it doesn't need to store this fat. Our body always worries most about one thing, and that is self-preservation. And it wants to make sure that it can keep us living. That is its job. So why are we berating ourselves? Why are we making ourselves feel bad for our body doing what it is supposed to do? Instead of worrying about your weight, let's worry about your health. Let's address the actual issue, the messy, unpleasant, and frankly unenjoyable side of health, where we dig in deep and we sort out our shit. We're still living in a high stress environment, and sadly that's not going to end for a while yet. This is not the time to be worrying about your weight on the scale. This is the time to be worrying about your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. God forbid you get the virus. You need your body to be as healthy as it can be to help fight it off. You need your immune system working for you. You need the healthy mental state to deal with stress in your life, whether that stress is coming from home, work, internal, wherever. We need to take care of ourselves. I was listening to something earlier today, and they said that in this time, if you find yourself with extra money, what you should be investing in is your mental health, not a new bag or shoes, because frankly, where are you going? Who's going to see it? Don't invest in that stuff. Invest in yourself, your well-being, because that's all we have. That's all we have. And it's the most important thing. So that's really all I wanted to say today is, who the F cares how much you weigh right now? I weigh more than I've ever weighed in my life at this moment. I'm healthier than I've been lots of times in my past when I weighed a lot less. Weight does not tell you the full story. It does not tell you how healthy someone is or is not. However, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, those things are what really matter. And when those things are sorted out, weight is not going to be an issue. That's all there is to it. That is the honest truth. So if you are struggling with your weight right now, I want to encourage you to take a different approach. I want you to not think about a diet plan, a meal plan, losing fat, losing weight, any of that. I want you to instead take a good look at your overall health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. Look at your stress levels. Be really honest with yourself. Are you getting movement, purposeful movement, most days of the week? Are you eating food that is going to nourish your body, your physical person, most of the time? Are you taking care of your mental health? What does your sleep look like? What does your stress levels look like? How do you feel in your body if you were to just sit down and think about it? Sit and think for 5 minutes. How does your body feel? Stop worrying about calories and worry about your whole body health. Start thinking about immunity. We have this pandemic, but we are also going to be going into cold and flu season. We need to make sure our immune health is top notch. 80% of our immunity lives in our gut. We need to be eating foods that nourish that good bacteria. Are you? We need to be moving our bodies, using our lungs to make sure that we have good cardiac and respiratory health. Are you? We need to be taking care of our minds. Are you? These are the things that are really going to help the scale move in whichever direction it's supposed to move long term. And you know what? We need to do this together. I am going to be launching a new program in the coming weeks called R&R, which stands for Not Rest and Relaxation, but Recharged and Resilient. Because in order for us to rest and relax, we have to be in a place where our body feels safe. And if our body doesn't feel safe, it's not going to let us relax. Have you ever sat down and tried to relax and your mind just went a million miles a minute? Or you wake up in the middle of the night and you rehash everything you've ever done in your entire life, or try to organize the rest of your entire life at 3 a.m? Those are signs that your body is stressed out. It can't rest. It's running on cortisol. So in order for us to achieve rest and relaxation, which is so important, I truly believe that we need to be recharged and we need to be resilient. When we are recharged, we're able to return to a normal state of mind or strength after a period of exertion. And when we are resilient, we're able to withstand and recover quickly from difficult conditions. Does that not sound like something we all need a little bit more of? I'm going to be opening up a registration in the next couple of days, probably early next week if you're listening to this on the day that is coming out. I am adding the waitlist opt-in in the show notes here. So if you want to be one of the first people to get information on R&R, enter your email. You are not opting in to purchase anything. It's just going to get you front door access to this program, and it's going to get you the early bird, VIP, whatever kind of fancy words you want to put on it, pricing. It's going to be the pricing that I only offer to a certain number of people, and then the price will go up. And once you've purchased it once, you have it forever. You will have access forever. And again, there's going to be a free option as well. Obviously, the paid version is going to have a bit more to it, but I want to make sure that even if you can't afford to invest in something right now, you're still going to be able to get a lot of great benefits from this program. You know, I've spent so many years training in fitness and yoga and have taken specific courses on stress resiliency, on trauma, releasing trauma, Ayurveda, which is the science of self-healing. And we really want to move from a place of responding to stress versus reacting to stress. So that is what I'm going to leave you with. Please, if you are interested at all, and I hope you are, add your email to the waitlist form so you can be the first to get the information. Remember, there's going to be a free and a paid version of this program, and I really think it's going to be pivotal for a lot of us, myself included. I need this as much as the next person. So I'm really excited to be bringing this to you, and I hope that you will check it out. As always, thank you so much for listening. If you are on Instagram, follow me at Susie Confesses, SuziConfesses. You can also leave a review in iTunes. I would really, really appreciate it if you did that, and if you haven't already. And go sign up for that waitlist. Let's get recharged and resilient together. Have a wonderful day.